Hello everybody, how are you all doing today? Hopefully all of you are doing well and you're healthy. Today I'm going to talk about a very important topic which has been reported all around the world. It is the Black Lives Matter. I'm sure you have been seeing this all across the news, and today I thought, why not let you know more about this very important topic. So in the beginning I'm going to go through the article, and then I am going to go through the vocabulary and then the reflection, and by the end I'm going to give you 2 take-home questions for you to think about. Okay? Now let us begin. Black Lives Matter in the United States and many other countries around the world, people are protesting against the mistreatment of black people, especially by mostly white police officers whose job is to serve and protect them. Hundreds of thousands of people in the US and around the world are going into the streets, holding signs, and marching to raise awareness of the problems faced by people in the black community. For many decades, black people have been treated unfairly compared with the people of European descent and others. Now, what is the meaning of European descent? That means the people who came from Europe to the US. They are from the European descent and they are mostly white. Often, they have not been given the same advantages. For instance, not hired for jobs or unfairly harassed. Time and time again, black people have protested against this unfair treatment. While there have been some improved changes and accountability in policing, there continues to be many challenges. Then, on May 25, a black man named George Floyd was killed by police officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They were arresting him for a relatively minor alleged offense. He did not deserve the treatment he got, and he did not deserve to die. Because it was caught on video, everyone around the world saw the brutally unfair treatment of Floyd at the hands of the police. The 4 police officers who killed George Floyd were fired from their jobs and have been charged with murder or aiding and abetting murder and manslaughter. After Floyd's death, as well as other recent racist incidents in the US and other countries around the world, including Canada, many protests took place. Hundreds of thousands of people in many countries have marched to raise awareness about racism against black people and the need to find a solution. Many protesters use the slogans Black Lives Matter. Many of the protests in the United States and around the world have been mainly peaceful. Some of the protests, especially in the US, became violent. Many peaceful protests have been held before. In 2017, American football player Colin and others began taking a knee during the American national anthem. That meant they knelt down before their football games. They did it to protest black people being unfairly treated by the police. It was a peaceful way to protest against a very important issue. However, Colin and others who took a knee faced enormous opposition to this peaceful action, including from Donald Trump, the President of the United States, as well as many of the owners of the football teams. Those owners this week admitted they had been wrong. Often, there are many sides to complex issues. However, this is never another side to racism. Racism judging someone by the color of their skin is always wrong. Some cities are having discussions about defunding. The meaning of defunding is taking money away from the budget, police forces, and using that money to create a better system of policing that is more fair for everyone. The protests are continuing and people are discussing what can be done to make things better for black people. Many people of all races are listening to what black people have to say so they can better understand and support them. Now, let's move on to the vocabulary analysis. The meaning of mistreatment, the first vocabulary, is the action of ill-treating or fact of being ill-treated. Now, if somebody is being not well treated, they are experiencing mistreatment. For example, in a sentence, I can say, both parents have denied charges of mistreating their children. Okay? Then the next word is marching. Basically, marching is when you walk on the streets when you are protesting. For example, I can say she's going on a march on Saturday in protest over the closure of the hospital. The next vocabulary is unfairly harassed. Unfairly harassed. Now, the meaning of unfairly, I'm guessing you all know that, means not fair. Harassed means to annoy or upset someone over a period of time. Now, black people are always unfairly harassed. That means if the police stops them on the road when they're driving, they will be asked to do many more things that are not necessary. Okay? So black people are unfairly harassed for their skin color. Accountability. Now, the meaning of this word is the fact of being responsible for what you have done and be able to give a satisfactory reason for it. For example, I can give you the sentence, there were furious demands for greater police accountability. Now, if the police have done something wrong, then they have to get the punishment too, right? But in a lot of the instances in the US, the police does not get the punishment, which is very, very wrong. If they did something bad, if they killed somebody, then they have to get punished, right? This is the rule of law. Then, minor alleged offense. Now, the meaning of minor alleged offense is, the meaning of minor first, is that very little, very tiny crime, okay? Alleged means that I don't know if you have done it or not, but I think you have done it, so maybe I will take you to the police station first, okay? Crime means doing an illegal act, so stealing is a crime. So, these three words put together, minor alleged crime, that means George Floyd, he might have done something bad, something illegal. But, first of all, it's very little. Second, it's we don't know if he has done it yet, okay? And he has committed a crime. But there was no reason to kill him, right? Okay, now let's move on to the next vocabulary, raise awareness. Now, the meaning of raise awareness is raise is to increase or become bigger or better. Awareness is knowledge that something exists. So when I say raise awareness for black people, that means we want to tell people that black people are going through a lot of trouble. So we all should help them. So we all should raise awareness so people in the world will know that there are issues. Okay? The next word is knelt down. Now, a lot of the football players, not the soccer players, football players, American football players, when they knelt down, a lot of people said they were being disrespectful. But what is the meaning of knelt down? The meaning of knelt down is to show respect by getting down on one's knee. So when you go down on one knee, that means you are showing respect to them. And because they knelt down when the national anthem was playing, many people thought they were disrespecting the national anthem. Okay, the next word is enormous opposition. Now, if you do something and many people are against you, they say, no, you're doing something wrong. That means you have an enormous opposition. Enormous means very big. Opposition means people who are against you. So black people have an enormous opposition. That means many people are against black people, maybe in the police force, okay? Now, the next word is defund. Now, the meaning of the the word defund is to stop providing the money to pay for something, okay? So for example, if your school wants to buy new computers, but then suddenly the education department wants to defund your school, that means is not giving money to your school, that means your school would not have money to buy the new computers, right? So that's the meaning of defund, like take money away from you, okay? Now let's move on to the reflection, okay? Now, violence against African Americans. So we should think about like there's a larger context and history. Actually, African Americans have been in the U.S. for a long time, and until 40 years ago, they were still asked to go to different schools, eat at different restaurants. Can you imagine somebody telling you, "Oh, because you're black, you cannot study in the same school as us," or "Because you're black, you cannot go to the same restaurant as us"? That is discrimination, which is very, very bad, okay? Now, let's think about, does racism exist in Hong Kong as well? A lot of you might think, no, there are not many black people in Hong Kong. But then, there are many ethnic minorities. That means there are many people who are not Chinese. So for example, we have people from Europe, people from America and Hong Kong, people from South Asia, for example, people from India, Pakistan, and we have Africans also. So are they all treated fairly? It is reported that African migrants in Hong Kong face a lot of challenges, from limited social networks to difficulty in adjusting to society. That means people who come from Africa to Hong Kong, they face a lot of problems. So because they do not know Cantonese, they cannot, for example, the government is not providing them chances to learn Cantonese, and there are not enough jobs for them. So a lot of them are really poor, they don't have a lot of money. So these are also some sort of discrimination which we need to think about, right? Now we have to think about some more things. For example, discrimination or racism in Hong Kong comes in many ways, but many people in Hong Kong might find it acceptable or simply don't think that this is a problem. For example, many Hong Kongers say that they find it unacceptable to send their children to a very prestigious school if most of its students were African. That means if a school has mainly African students, then maybe a lot of Hong Kong people might not send their children there because they might think, I don't know how the African children will behave with my students. So something like that. I mean, this is invisible discrimination. However, Hong Kongers easily associate black people or South Asians with negative labeling. So, for example, if somebody is from India, people might think, "Oh, I should not sit next to him because there are some discriminatory thoughts going on in their minds." So we can also think about how to improve our thinking, how to make everybody see themselves as Hong Kongers. Now, you have a couple of take-home questions. The first one is, how is racism shown in our everyday life? In what ways do the colored people face discrimination, unfair treatment in their life? For example, you can think about, is there racism in your life? For example, what do you think about when you see people who are not from Hong Kong, who are not, for example, Chinese? So what do you think about in that situation? And the second question is, some racist people are posting bad comments on articles about the Black Lives Matter. So if you go on like Facebook and stuff like that, right, when people are protesting, people say, "Oh, you guys are not doing a good thing. Why are you protesting?" They are posting bad things, right? How do you think social media platform like Facebook, Instagram should handle racist comments? That means, what do you think Facebook and Instagram should do with the people who are typing very racist things like, "Oh, black people are not good, blah, blah, blah"? Like, what do you think Facebook and Instagram should do about them? Okay, so that's it for today. Hopefully all of you have learned a bit more about Black Lives Matter and racism and discrimination in general. Okay, so see you guys.